Meet Kong. He earns a very respectable salary of $75,000 a year. Kong lives alone in a tiny, cheap apartment. He manages to save a little bit of money every month. Now, meet Koko. She also makes exactly $75,000 a year. Koko also lives alone, paying her own rent, her own internet bill, and her own utilities. One day, Kong and Koko fall in love, and naturally they decide to move in together. From a purely mathematical standpoint, this is the smartest financial decision two primates can possibly make. By combining their lives, they instantly eliminate an entire set of living expenses. They only need one apartment, they only need one internet connection, they only need one Netflix account. Suddenly, their combined household income transforms into a massive $150,000 a year. Kong and Koko feel like absolute royalty. They feel incredibly, undeniably rich. They look at their bank accounts and realize they have thousands of dollars in extra disposable cash every single month. They are officially DINKs, dual income, no kids, the holy grail of consumer demographics. With this newfound wealth, they decide they can finally afford to upgrade their lives. They move out of their cheap apartments and sign a lease for a beautiful luxury two-bedroom loft downtown. It costs twice as much, but they justify it because they now have two incomes. They move Kong's old, battered thrift store couch into the stunning new luxury living room. Koko looks at the couch. It looks absolutely terrible against the pristine hardwood floors. "We make $150,000 a year," she says. "We deserve a nice couch." So they go out and buy a sleek $3,000 imported Italian leather sectional. It looks magnificent, but now they have triggered a devastating psychological trap, a phenomenon first documented in the 18th century by a French philosopher, the Diderot Effect. Denis Diderot lived his entire life in poverty, but one day someone gifted him a beautiful, luxurious scarlet robe. Diderot loved the robe, but when he sat at his cheap, beaten-up wooden desk, the desk suddenly looked offensive. It didn't match the standard of his new elegant garment. So he bought a new, expensive desk, but then his old chair looked out of place next to the new desk. So he bought a new leather chair, then new paintings, then a new rug. By trying to make his environment match his one single luxury item, Diderot plunged himself entirely into massive debt. The introduction of a single new possession creates a spiral of consumption, forcing you to upgrade everything else to maintain a cohesive identity. This is exactly what happens to Kong and Koko. Kong sits on his luxurious new Italian leather couch and turns on his old 32-inch television. The TV looks pathetic. It doesn't belong in a luxury loft. "We make $150,000, Kong says. "We shouldn't be watching movies like peasants." So they finance a massive 85-inch OLED flat screen on a monthly payment plan. Then Koko realizes their mismatched cheap dish plates look embarrassing in their brand new modern kitchen. So they buy an entire set of expensive ceramic dishware to match the aesthetic. The spiral of lifestyle creep has officially begun. Every time their income or perception of wealth increases, their baseline for what constitutes a basic need automatically expands to consume the excess cash. When Kong lived alone, cooking chicken and rice at home was perfectly normal. Now that they are a power couple, coming home after a long day of dual corporate jobs feels exhausting. "We work hard," Koko says. "We deserve to treat ourselves. Let's just order sushi." Ordering delivery goes from being a rare, special occasion to a fundamental 3 times a week necessity. That is an extra $800 a month bleeding out of their accounts, disguised as convenience. Then comes the ultimate ego trap: transportation. Kong still drives his old, paid-off blue sedan, but parked next to Koko's newer car in the luxury apartment garage, it looks embarrassing. The Diderot effect strikes again. You cannot be a wealthy DINK couple living in a loft and drive a 10-year-old beater. So Kong goes to the dealership. He finances a brand new $60,000 luxury SUV. "It's fine," he tells himself. "Our household income is huge. We can easily absorb a $900 car payment." But he completely ignores the secondary costs. The insurance premiums double. The premium gas costs more. Now they have 2 massive car payments, high rent, expensive dinners, and a loft full of premium furniture. This is Parkinson's law of money in full effect. Expenses will always rise to exactly meet the level of available income. If you earn $50,000, you figure out how to spend $50,000. If you earn $150,000, you seamlessly figure out how to spend $150,000. You do not actually become wealthier, you just buy a more expensive, shinier treadmill to run on. Let's fast forward 8 months into their glorious DINK lifestyle. It is the 29th of the month. Payday is still 2 days away. Kong logs into his banking app to check their combined balance. He stares at the screen, unable to process the math. They have exactly $43.20 remaining across all their accounts. They make $150,000 a year, and they are completely, functionally broke. They look out the window at their neighbor, Chad. Chad is the poster child of financial disaster. He's up to his eyeballs in credit card debt. But mathematically, what is the difference between Chad and the new DINK version of Kong? Absolutely nothing. They both have zero deployable capital. They are both trapped in the paycheck cycle. Kong realizes the horrifying truth. When he lived alone on $75,000, he was actually richer, because back then he had a gap between his income and his expenses. He had cash flow, he had leverage.
Now the gap is completely closed. The two-income trap has swallowed them whole. So how does a modern couple escape this mathematical nightmare? How do you move in together without going bankrupt? You must execute the most powerful, ruthless financial protocol known to couples, the one-income rule. Let's rewind the tape back to the day Kong and Koko moved in together and play this game correctly. They combine their lives, their household income becomes $150,000. But instead of upgrading their apartment, they stay in Kong's cheap, boring apartment. They do not buy the Italian leather couch. They do not finance the luxury SUV. They deliberately lock their lifestyle inflation in a cage. Here is the exact mechanics of the rule. You pretend the second income does not exist. You live entirely off of one person's salary. In this case, they pay all rent, food, and bills using only Kong's $75,000. And what happens to Koko's entire $75,000 salary? It becomes an absolute, untethered weapon of mass wealth creation. Because they don't need her money to survive, they invest 100% of it. First, they build an impenetrable 6-month emergency fund. Then, they max out both of their Roth IRAs, $14,000 a year, growing completely tax-free forever. Finally, the rest goes straight into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. Let's run the brutal, beautiful math on living off one income. After taxes, Koko's salary allows them to invest around $4,500 every single month. At a historical 8% return, within 5 years they have over $330,000. In 10 years, they cross the $820,000 mark. And in less than 13 years, Kong and Koko are certified liquid millionaires. They didn't invent an app, they didn't win the lottery, they didn't inherit a trust fund. They simply refused to inflate their lifestyle when their household income doubled. But let me warn you, this path is psychologically brutal. Because while you are diligently investing 50% of your income, you have to watch everyone around you seemingly live like royalty. You have to watch Chad. Chad and his girlfriend also make $150,000 a year, but they fell into the trap. They suffer from the DINK illusion. They believe that because they have no kids, they're invincible. They upgraded to the luxury loft. They bought the Italian leather couch. They leased 2 luxury cars, and every single weekend they're out at expensive restaurants posting photos of their food online to validate their existence. But remember the rule of the Diderot Effect. The spiral never stops. Once you normalize spending 100% of your income, your brain begins to justify spending 110%. Chad starts using credit cards to bridge the gap between his massive salary and his even more massive lifestyle. He is trapped in the hamster wheel, running at maximum speed just to avoid being crushed by the debt behind him. Now, let's inject a dose of macroeconomic reality into this scenario. It's late 2026, the business cycle shifts, a mild recession hits the corporate sector. Companies start laying off middle management to protect their profit margins. On a random Tuesday, Chad is called into a sudden 15-minute Zoom meeting with HR. His position has been eliminated. His $75,000 income vanishes instantly into thin air. The dual income trap violently snaps shut. Chad and his girlfriend's household income drops from $150,000 to $75,000 overnight. But here's the catastrophic problem. Their expenses are perfectly optimized for $150,000. They have zero emergency savings. They have zero liquid assets to sell. The lease on the luxury loft cannot be broken without massive penalties. The car leases are locked in. Within exactly 45 days, the illusion of their wealth completely crumbles. They default on their credit cards, they miss rent, they face the brutal reality of the DINK bankruptcy. Now, let's look at the exact same economic crisis from Kong and Koko's apartment. Kong also gets the dreaded Zoom call. His position is also eliminated. He walks into the living room and tells Koko the bad news. They have lost half their household income. Does Koko panic? Do they default on their rent? Absolutely not. Because they followed the one-income rule, their baseline living expenses are completely 100% covered by Koko's salary alone. The only thing that changes is that they temporarily pause their massive deposits into the brokerage account. They have a fully funded emergency fund, giving Kong plenty of time to find a new, better job without taking the first desperate offer. By avoiding the two-income trap, they successfully built an unbreakable fortress of wealth. The system wants you to upgrade. The system relies on the Diderot Effect to keep you indebted to corporate jobs forever. Every time you get a raise, every time you move in with a partner, the marketing algorithms will push you to expand your lifestyle. You have to fight it. You have to outsmart your primate brain. Live on one, invest the other. That is the absolute golden rule of escaping the middle class. Do not become a highly paid slave to a fancy couch or a leased car. Be like Kong and Koko. Secure your foundation, buy your assets, and own your future. Tell me in the comments down below, what was the dumbest purchase you made because of the Diderot effect? I promise I won't judge you. And keep your overhead low and outsmart your primate brain.